Welcome to the Intrazone Roadmap Pitstop May 2022 edition. This is a bonus monthly show that answers that burning question in your mind. What is rolling out now for SharePoint and related technology in Microsoft 365? I'm Mark Cashman, Senior Product Manager on the Microsoft 365 marketing team, here to help set the ongoing record straight. This month, I talk with Marc Mroz from the Microsoft Stream team, those fine folks focused on bringing great audio and video experiences to the SharePoint Files platform, and hence out towards numerous endpoints across Microsoft 365. We'll discuss the progress and value of Stream on SharePoint and dig into the recent player enhancements that landed this month. Beyond the breadth of Stream innovation, we'll focus on everything that landed this month, highlight a few related items, and the always fun teasers looking into next month. This podcast is your 30-minute roadmap extravaganza to stay ahead of the ever-curving Microsoft 365 roadmap. It is now time for you to kick back and get informed about all the tech that rolled out in May 2022. Starting this journey of these 30 minutes is all about employee experience. What is out and available now for the employee engagement one-to-many type communications throughout your intranet? We will start with an easy and useful one. First up, the Site Templates History panel. This is a new panel in site settings for site owners to view the history of any site templates that have been applied to their site, along with the ability to click in and review related site script actions. Site owners simply go to the Site Information panel and then select View Template History. Selecting any of the site templates that you see in the history feed will show you the different site script actions that ran successfully or possibly encountered an error. Great way to troubleshoot. In this case, it's okay if history repeats itself as you adjust and apply templates over time. The key thing to know is the past of your intranet, your site, to know the history of yourself, really, as the site owner. You have now this control to see what has happened, to learn from it, and to potentially do it over and over and over again, especially if it was successful. Now, before we talk with Marc Mroz from the Stream team, I'm going to cover two of the recent Microsoft Stream updates, centering around the ability to view and edit video or audio file information. The first one is really the about information that gives you the ability, if you have edit permissions to a video or audio file, to add and edit a title description of your video or audio file. Viewers will be able to see this information along with non-editable fields like upload date, owner name, file name, and area path. This gives you more capabilities to share more information about what is this video, what is this audio. Next is custom thumbnailing. This is located in video settings, and it gives the people that have the ability to edit the video or audio the ability to change the default thumbnail by uploading an image or selecting a frame from the video itself. This custom thumbnail will be used throughout Microsoft 365 when people are in view mode of your audio or video file. And since it does apply to audio, this makes it nice to be able to add a custom thumbnail to something like an internal podcast per each episode. It really makes it look nice and is another surface area that you can put information about that particular episode or anything you want about a particular audio file that people will see during playback. Those people that are your intended audience now get more context even for audio files. So now that you've gotten a little sense of a little bit of what's happened around Microsoft Stream in May, let us turn to talk to Marc Mroz and find out a whole lot more about Microsoft Stream All Up and Microsoft Stream in the month of May. All right, it is now that time where we don't just keep listening to Marc talking, but we have Marc talking to Marc. That is right. We have from the Microsoft Stream team another Marc Mroz, here to explain everything that is this thing we call Stream on SharePoint and what has recently released in May. Marc, welcome to the Intrazone.
It's great to be here.
So I think you've been busy. I think you live and work out of Chicago, but you've also recently been in Redmond to mingle with your team to basically work out what the big plans are for the next many years to come for Stream. But what's been keeping you most busy these days? I think it might be this thing we call Stream on SharePoint.
Yeah, for sure. Stream on SharePoint, we announced it 18 months ago, 19 months ago or so at Ignite. And it's really this reimagining of what Stream and enterprise video can be on top of M365, where Stream Classic was kind of siloed on its own in a separate Azure service. And we did our best to kind of connect it to the rest of M365. Stream on SharePoint is really about us building video native and audio capabilities directly into SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and Yammer so that we can leverage all the great capabilities that SharePoint and OneDrive file platform offers today. And then we can add our special sauce on top of that about what needs to be unique about audio and video files.
So you're focused obviously on the playback experience for the end user, hopefully the ease of where do I put my file, who is my file intended for. Can you dig in a little bit more the benefits of this move to SharePoint? If I were somebody in IT that's building out a governance plan and concerns around privacy security, what does that mean to have my audio and video files in SharePoint?
Yeah, before Stream Classic was really kind of this, as I said before, siloed destination. And we thought of it as, kind of this way to portal to get back to all your videos. And we still believe in those scenarios. But what we're moving towards is making audio and video files on par with the rest of all the files that are already stored in SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and Yammer. So if you want to take advantage of Stream on SharePoint today, instead of uploading your video to Stream Classic, you come and put it into your OneDrive, or you put it into a SharePoint site that you have, or you drop it into the Files tab on Teams, or you upload it directly to a post in Yammer. All of those things will put it into the SharePoint ecosystem for storing of files. And because you do that and put that file into OneDrive and SharePoint, Teams, and Yammer, it allows us to take advantage of all the cool capabilities that have been there for years for other files. So that is things like e-discovery, legal hold, retention policies. Those things just work when your file is stored in OneDrive and SharePoint, Teams, and Yammer. There's APIs available to us on top of Microsoft Graph APIs, where if you want to create, upload, delete, permission changes, share link operations on top of video files and audio files, you can do that once you store them into OneDrive and SharePoint. M365 search just works, where if I search anywhere, there's a search box in M365, be it in Teams, be it in Office, be it in SharePoint, in OneDrive, in Bing Enterprise Edge, for that sake, it will now find your audio and video files. And the new capabilities that we've added with transcripts, which just rolled out in the last couple of weeks, that transcript is also indexed for search as well, which powers then being able to find the video file based on what was actually said in the transcript. So tons of capabilities that are available from an IT point of view. And then even from not an IT point of view, if you want to build your own kind of custom video portal or video experiences on top of your intranet into Viva Connections, you can do that now today with web parts that already exist in SharePoint. If you use the file viewer web part, features a single video and you can play it. You use the highlighted content web part, you can get a list of videos, and you can recreate a lot of what was in Stream Classic already today on top of SharePoint with modern pages, communication sites, and Viva Connections.
From everything I'm hearing, there's the importance of we want to treat audio and video as a tier 1 content type, but also to the back-end service and system from a features and a governance and IT, even the end user experience. It's a file like any other. Anything you can do in how you share a file, how you collaborate on a file, where you put the file to kind of enumerate, where is the right place to play this back from based on who needs to then access it. It is all there, by the default of the SharePoint files platform, if that's a way to phrase it, to the point of a lot of what you've been investing in is to then make it so that you can build out these really great experiences, whether it's a single file, single video file, single audio file, or multiple. And I think, that connection to both search and Viva Connections to me also resonates that it's a part of the broader Microsoft graph. So it's not this alienated file type somewhere, that it really is something that probably flows through office.com, wherever there's a recent experience, now video and audio will show up. And if I'm getting that wrong, correct me, but I feel like it's just another file in the file system. And on top of that, there's a really great experience for what we know people want to experience when they click on an audio or video file.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The change we're making with what we're calling Stream on SharePoint is that it's a file throughout the ecosystem of M365. Like when I open a new tab in Edge, it shows me my recent Teams meeting recordings or a video that someone sent to me as a recommended file, along with Word, PowerPoint, and Excel files that I've been acting on. If I go to office.com, same thing. If I click on a profile image of someone and it shows their recent files, videos that are stored in SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and Yammer show up there as well. And so you can see how we're really up-leveling the experience of how video and audio files just flow through the system. And on top of that, we're going to build really amazing video specific things that we'll talk about in a second around what can the player do. And then there's also really great experiences because we're leveraging SharePoint that you can build your own kind of bespoke and distinct video destinations or weave video into other destinations you already have with the web parts and kind of building modern pages and portals from there.
You've mentioned two things that I think will kind of bridge us to where we want to go for what is the most recent innovation or what's been shipping, in May or in the mid to late April timeframe. You mentioned transcripts, and I think off the back of that, you mentioned also Teams meetings are now by default a video file in SharePoint at the end of the meeting, and they're really fast to show up. They have a really great playback experience in the chat, or if you want to do, other things with it. I oftentimes will take a recorded meeting that I'm doing to do for an event prep, and I create a single page where people can see the PowerPoint we walked through, the video playback, obviously, if they were needing to watch it on demand, any key links, and oftentimes a list of sessions. That's my common, post-meeting SharePoint page that I create. And it's very easy to get a link to the recorded meeting and drop it on a page for that on-demand consumption. But it's that player experience that I think has been getting a lot of the attention. And maybe now we just kind of frame it around when you're collaborating with other people and there's audio and video, whether it's in OneDrive or SharePoint, there's this new player experience. Can you maybe dig a little bit into what does that mean to either get an auto transcript or have one created for you manually that you choose to do, but also maybe just some of the other things that are most recently available now through the player that would be interesting for people to at least be aware of?
Yeah, we've spent a lot of our time on our team focused on the player experience, updating that, getting a good base so that we can add a bunch of features to it. And we've also focused a ton on making sure that the video playback works well. Historically speaking, if you put a video into SharePoint or OneDrive and you click play, the experience over the last, many years was not that great. And so we've invested tons and tons of time, tons of measurement on just updating that back end for playback, putting a CDN involved with it, optimizing how we do the transcoding and on the fly being able to put it to the right format for everyone to play. And so, our team measures something that we call SESH. SESH is stream. Oh, now I don't even know what the letters stand for. Experience, health. Oh, I can't even
what
say
what
I
love is the acronyms that are no longer needed because the performance is already where it needs to be.
Yeah. And so basically we kind of measure all the things in terms of performance of did it buffer too often? How long did it take to start up? And so we're tracking that, and we're pretty brutal about when we hit a goal, we raise our goal. We wanted SESH at 80%. We hit it. Let's move it to 85. We hit that. Let's move it to 95. And so we're iteratively making that better. So on the back end part of playback, we've massively improved it over the last 18 or 19 months or so. And then on the front end part of what's the experience for users? Just in the last maybe week or two, transcripts has hit 100% of general availability. It's not yet available for GCC. There's a separate roadmap item for that. But for those of you in regular production, you can now go to click on a video file that you've uploaded to OneDrive or SharePoint or Teams, and there's a new tab that says video settings in the player. And if you click on video settings, there's a section in there for transcripts, and you can easily just click a button and generate a transcript for that file in English if it's an English-speaking video. And if it's not, you can also manually upload a WebVTT transcript file so that if you created that manually yourself, you could upload that, and then that shows up as captions and as the transcript on the side of the video. So that's just in the last couple of weeks has hit 100%. Sorry, GCC folks, not quite there yet for you.
Coming soon.
And coming soon to GCC, for sure. And then we have a bunch of other new capabilities that are also in the process of deploying right now here in May and should finish up end of the month, early next month. Comments is one of those. We added the ability to have comments directly on a video in OneDrive and SharePoint. It uses the look and feel of Word, Word comments, Word and PowerPoint and Excel comments. It's threaded, so you can actually see multiple responses in line. It sends notifications, similar to how other files send notifications. That one's at 100% of targeted release right now. And it's likely going to move to 50% of GA this week as we record it. We're like May 23rd. So sometime the week of May 23rd should hit 50% GA and hopefully move on to 100% very soon. We have another one that is rolling out right now. It's at 50% of GA, which is chapters. So this is a pretty cool way to take a long meeting recording or a long all hands or any sort of longer video and break it up into smaller chunks. So you can just move the playhead to 5 minutes in and say, this is the topic we were talking about at this point. Move it at 15:02 and set the new topic. And so then there's just a little side pane of the list of chapters, and then users can click and jump from one chapter to the other so that they can really get to the right part of the video that they care about, so they don't have to watch the whole thing end to end. If they don't want to, they can just really focus on what's the part that they care about.
All right, so you got this player. I know there's probably one more thing that's one of the most important things to the SharePoint audience, which is metadata. You got, I think, 2 or 3 pretty key items of metadata that are now up-leveled and right in that same experience, right under the commenting in the chapters. Yeah,
we're adding a top-level title and description for audio and video files that are stored in SharePoint and OneDrive. So you'll be able to just go in, add a title, add a description. Right now, they'll display in a little side pane called About Video. But if you look at some of our help docs, we're moving towards a player that looks a lot more like Stream Classic, where that title and that description will actually then show up under the video, similar to how it looked up in Stream Classic. But right now, that title and description is at 5% of GA, and it's likely moving to about 50% this week. And so you'll have that pretty soon. And then the other one that comes with it, with that title and description, is also being able to set the custom thumbnail. And we made custom thumbnail even better than we had it in Stream Classic. In Stream Classic, you could just upload an image file, and that was your thumbnail. What we're added in for SharePoint and OneDrive is that you can actually just scrub to a specific part of the video. Say like 5:02 is where someone's smiling really nice, and you want that to be the thumbnail. You just scrub the playhead to that point, and you say, make that my thumbnail. And then that thumbnail is the thumbnail that shows up throughout search, throughout lists, everywhere that you would show the video.
So you mentioned a specific help doc, or just at least referenced the help docs. And I will just pause here and say to everybody listening, if you have any interest or a lot of interest in Microsoft Stream, the help articles on docs.microsoft.com are really, really well thought out and very forward-looking, but also very historic, depending on where you are in your journey to the stream on SharePoint. But there's one that I want to end on, if you don't mind, Marc. It's more to up-level that you should be aware there's a great future-looking page of what's coming to Microsoft Stream, or what's coming for audio and video in Microsoft 365. And I thought maybe you could give us 1 or 2 top-of-mind things that are being invested in that isn't disclosure, so I don't want you to disclose anything you don't want to, but just talks about, beyond May, what are some of the things that maybe you've already articulated in this future-looking article out on docs.com that you can share with us today?
Yeah, so if you go to the article is at aka.ms stream roadmap, so aka.ms/stream roadmap, and we take you first to this help article that really shows all the things we just kind of talked about today, what's already possible today, what's coming in the May timeframe. And then we do kind of lean into some of the things that are like in our backlog that we have under development, but not necessarily that we can promise a date yet. And so things like that are kind of under development, but not yet have a public roadmap. We are working on a dedicated Stream mobile app. So we had a mobile app for Stream Classic. We're rebuilding it so that it works off of SharePoint and OneDrive. Another key feature is around kind of being able to have embed codes. Like that's one of the key missing features we have right now is that you can't grab an embed code for a video that's in SharePoint and OneDrive and stick it onto a non-SharePoint site. It works well if you use a file viewer web part on the SharePoint site, but if you have a non-SharePoint site, you want an embed code. That's something that's under development, just haven't put a roadmap date to it. And then the one that I'm really excited most about is we're building playlists, and we're actually building it on top of Microsoft 365 lists, where you can go into a Microsoft 365 list, pick the type playlist, you can add a bunch of videos to it, and then you can hit play all, and that play all will give you this nice view with the player on the left, the list of videos on the right, and the users can kind of jump through and kind of play those. And like kind of give you a little glimpse of where we're headed probably over the next year. We've been thinking heavily about the feedback we're hearing from customers around, they really miss the channel capability that was in Stream Classic and how they had like some simple organization methods for being able to kind of have these nice little pages where you could send, here's the channel page, here's all my videos. We think that we're going to lean heavily into playlists being our replacement for channels. And so that we think that once we get that basic capability for playlists out there, the new things we can add on it over the next year or so are like notifications and subscriptions where you could subscribe to that playlist and then you would get notified in the mobile app and that you could automatically start playing that easily from inside the mobile app. Or you can, get access to these kind of things in the Viva Connections feed, right? We could potentially take these notifications and these subscriptions that you have and feed that as useful information into the Viva Connections feed, where the Viva Connections feeds is a mix of stuff I care about for me to learn and grow and stuff that my organization wants me to look at because of, it's important for the company or the organization. And so we think that moving towards videos being heavily leveraging playlists on top of Microsoft 365 lists is also going to be a great addition to kind of this ecosystem we're trying to build.
Okay, so that is mobile, embed, and playlists on lists. And I'm going to put a pin on that last one because I know some of the folks on the list team. We know Michaela and Lincoln. They've been on the show before. We know you and your team. How about we set a date for a date where we've got the list team with the stream team talking about video and audio lists on lists. How about that?
That'd be amazing. Can you add it to your list that you use to track? I'm going to add
it to my list of shows to talk about lists on playlists on lists. I got it.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Well, Marc, thank you for your time. Thanks for the explanation of what is Stream on SharePoint. And as an end user of your technology, as in addition to helping evangelize it, I've really appreciated the speed and the ease of working with audio and video. So really cool the work that you're doing. And thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Marc Mroz is one of my favorite people on the engineering side. In fact, he's just one of my favorite people. I've worked with him for a really long time, and we brought this thing to market a long time together. I was the Office 365 video PMM before it became Stream. So really pleased to see what Marc and his team have done over the years, and really encourage you to get in and try out all these new audio and video experiences. And if you didn't hear it in Marc's voice, let him know what you think. Let him know what you want next. They have a great roadmap, but they also have a great ear to listen to what it is that you want, and they want to make that experience exactly as you want it. Let's now turn to teamwork. When you're working one-on-one with somebody or you're working with your team, we want to give you the best capabilities so that you have the best productivity experience no matter what it is that you're doing. And this first item is if you're working in SharePoint and you're working in SharePoint pages or news, there are now new section templates for SharePoint pages and news. Authors of SharePoint pages and news articles will be able to access section templates from the plus menu in a new tab next to the sections tab. This is on the left side when you're in creation mode, in edit mode. Users will be able to choose and add templates at the section level instead of just at the page level. Although users will still have access to blank sections, these now, once implemented, you will see there will be 6 templates that give you a much quicker way to design and deploy what it is you want per each section. These templates include fixed aspect ratios of the image web part to automatically keep images within a template looking consistent, looking great. But of course, if you want, you can override when editing an image. And in fact, you can always override whatever it is that the section template brings with it. But it is a much easier way to get started and to be more uniform in your approach as you're designing your pages. In this next section of teamwork, it's going to get a little loopy. And I have to ask, are you ready? Are you ready to get loopy? Because I've got 2 Microsoft Loop things for you this month, a loop-de-loop, if you will. First, for everyday people, Loop components in Outlook Mail, which is now in preview. What started as Loop components in Teams chats now comes to Outlook. It's that same capability to create and collaborate on smaller units of content, like a bulleted list, paragraph, a table, an agenda that you want to build out, etc. Now users can compose a new email or reply to an existing one and insert a loop component via the toolbar or copy and paste a component between Mail and Teams chats. You can learn more about loop components and how your organization can better leverage them. There's a great article, First Things to Know About Loop Components, but the breadth of how these will become something that you can interact with, whether you create them or you receive them in an email or in a chat, especially if you're talking about one loop component in multiple places, that center of gravity just gives you another way to reach out to people in their preferred method. So, I promised there were 2 loopy components. Second loopy news is for admins. There's a new admin PowerShell control for loop components. In response to customer feedback, we are introducing a new PowerShell control, is loop enabled, all one word, to control loop component experiences in Microsoft 365. Admins can control loop components independently from other experiences now. This allows admins to be able to disable loop components while keeping the new whiteboard in OneDrive enabled, for example. Additionally, you no longer need to set is fluid enabled, all one word, to true to enable other fluid framework powered experiences. We highly recommend admins to stop using is fluid enabled because it will be retired later this year. The property will be only available until November 2022 and that release of the SharePoint Online Management Shell on November 25th, 2022. So get used to the new way, really get used to the power that you can, as an admin, control loop components via PowerShell. I'll include all the links and the specific version of the SharePoint Online Management Shell that you need to have at least upgraded to or have on your local machine to be able to now control via PowerShell the loop components. So now that we're loopy and maybe you just need something like those little bands on your wrists or maybe some Tums to cool down your stomach because you were so loopy, let's move into related technology. The first thing is the inspiration library in Microsoft Viva Insights. If success is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration, then it's time to stop sweating just a little bit. The Inspiration Library is a new feature available in preview through the Viva Insights app in Teams. It turns insights into action with access to curated content and best practices from top sources like Harvard Business Review and thrive. The productivity and well-being delivered by Viva Insights are enhanced by this premium content focused on driving better employee experiences and boosting engagement. I just read the article Rediscover Joy at Work by Rebecca Newton. This is from the Harvard Business Review, and I learned about the importance of building your strengths into your day, focusing on your professional growth, and how to build relationships through work. It was a good read, and it was right where I needed it, right when I needed it. So I was able to turn from doing my collaborative work to then go read a little bit that maybe got me centered so that I can focus on how others are feeling or help me understand how I'm feeling. Great research, great insights, and quick reads, easy to turn to, get a little insight, and then right back to your day. The next related item is Microsoft Lists. The calendar view is getting some new innovation, the drag and drop capability when you're in calendar view. There's a lot of calendar view work that we've been demoing recently as an early look at some recent events like Microsoft 365 Conference and 365 EduCon Seattle. In the keynotes, we had some nice demos of these coming, and I'm pleased to say that one of the items is now rolling out. This one makes it that calendar view is a lot more of an interactive surface. Now it's easy to reorganize list items in a calendar view. Users will be able to reschedule items, actually changes the date by dragging and dropping them from one day to the other. And if you remember last month when we talked about the unscheduled pane, if there's an item that is not yet have a date in the unscheduled pane, you can now drag and drop from the unscheduled pane to a particular date. And of course, it assigns it that date visually on the calendar view, but it also updates the metadata with the date that you chose. So really nice to see this more dynamic, more interactive surface coming to List, and specifically in calendar view, you now have the ability to drag and drop. And since we're talking about Microsoft Lists, I wanted to highlight that Microsoft Lists has joined the feedback portal, so you can now submit your feature ideas and feedback for lists in Microsoft 365. Just head over to aka.ms/feedback/lists. You'll land and you can see all of the feature ideas and feedback that other people are submitting. You can upvote them, you can add your own, you can provide comments and feedback directly back onto other people's feedback. It's meant to be a huge listening mechanism for the list team. If you have an idea, or if you see another person's idea and you want to upvote it plus one it, please do that. We always love to know what it is that you want next. And I can tell you firsthand, the list team is very active in reviewing all of the list feedback in the feedback portal. So head on over there, aka.ms/feedback/lists. Next is a quick FYI about changes that are coming to the mover.io website. Microsoft acquired Mover back in October of 2019, and since then, the team has been hard at work integrating their technology and that technology directly into the SharePoint admin experience, with numerous communications about X and Y updates to our cloud based on the work that we're doing in Migration Manager. So if you saw this coming, I hope that means that we had good communications. If not, it's a bit of a heads up of what's coming. All the functionality to move content from various cloud storage providers into Microsoft 365 are supported now within the service, within the SharePoint Admin Center, specifically the Migration Manager tab. This is Microsoft's recommended tool for file migrations. The note is on July 1st, 2022, Microsoft will soon be retiring the legacy Mover tool's ability to migrate from Google Drive, Dropbox, and Ignite. Just to emphasize, this is if you go out to the mover.io website, that's where we're starting to retire some things. But all the functionality lives within the Microsoft 365 service for our commercial customers right there in the SharePoint Admin Center. But note, if you are currently in the middle of a Mover migration that you started from mover.io, you may continue using Mover until you finish your migration. However, you will not be able to create new ones. Any ones that have started, if you're using and leveraging Fast Track, those are the Fast Track led migrations, are also not impacted at this time. We'll have more to say as we get closer, and certainly as we move beyond, we'll continue to highlight the value and power of how you can migrate right within the SharePoint Admin Center. It's not a loss of functionality. It's actually just a minimization of where you turn to. Now it's all in one place, all within the service, within your tenant experience. The last thing that I wanted to touch on in related news is there was a ton of news at Build this year. Build 2022 opened up a lot of windows and doors into what's going to come down the pipe for developers of all angles, of course, across all the different surface areas that you can customize in Microsoft 365. But the ones that I wanted to focus on, because we are closer to SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and all things loop-oriented and Power Platform, those are pretty close to our hearts and homes here in the SharePoint world. I have 4 that I wanted to highlight that I took note of that I hope you'll be interested to go learn more about. The first one is called Live Share. These are interactive app experiences for Teams meetings. So if you've got an app and you want to have that be an experience and interactive for all members of the team meeting, look into this capability called Live Share. Next is the ability to create loop components by updating adaptive cards. This is connected to that similar notion of the new admin PowerShell control for loop components. Just gives you greater flexibility of what you can do with an adaptive card and how it can influence or create a loop component. Next, the Microsoft Graph API enhancements so that you can embed chats and channel messages into your apps. Let me say that again. If you're working on wanting to have a chat or a channel experience outside of Teams, but have it be based on the Teams capabilities and of course the Teams feature set, look to this Microsoft Graph API enhancement so that you can do just that. Embed it exactly how you want in your own custom solutions. And the last is the ability to add collaborative controls in Power Apps. Now, there were a lot of announcements outside of what I just mentioned, and so there are a ton of resources that I want to highlight. I'll go through them pretty quickly. You can learn more about all Microsoft 365 developer announcements in Jeff Teeper's blog titled Build Collaborative Apps with Microsoft Teams. There's also a great sister blog from Charles Lamanna, because he and Charles did a presentation during Build to highlight Microsoft 365 and the Power Platform. And Charles's blog is called The Power Platform Redefines Low Code with New Products and Features at Microsoft Build. He highlights Power Pages, Power Apps Design Express, Data Marts, and Power BI, and a lot more. There definitely was a great session. I have a link in the show notes and in the blog so that you can watch Jeff Teeper and Charles Lamanna give you the 101, 201 view of all of this with a lot of great demos and first looks. And of course, there's a lot of deep dive sessions that are in the Build on Demand Sessions tab. And the last thing for Build, for all the major news and announcements across the company, I highly encourage you to watch Satya Nadella's keynote and read Kevin Scott's AI blog. A lot of detail. If you're a developer, you've probably already read a lot of this already. But if not, or if you're adjacent and just want to get informed on what's possible to, in the future, continue to customize and enhance Microsoft 365 and the Power Platform and Azure, there's a ton of reading and watching to do, and it's all really good content. It's all built and designed around, being virtual, so it's a lot shorter snippets and bits to get to the good stuff. Let us talk about the teasers. Let's move on from this Build developer-focused enhanced version of the world into the future and to see just a little bit into next month's future of what's coming. Here are 2 teasers for what's coming in June 2022. Teaser number 1, rename Add to OneDrive shortcuts in OneDrive Web. So if you've moved something and added it to OneDrive, now you can rename it without changing the behavior of the shortcut itself. And teaser number 2, pin and unpin SharePoint libraries for quick access. That's right, teaser number 2 is another OneDrive innovation coming to you next month. That's it with this month's Peek Ahead. We will share more details and other updates within the SharePoint Roadmap Pitstop June 2022 edition next month. We've added Learn More links per feature, plus a list of important resources in the show notes and in the corresponding blog post on the Microsoft Tech Community, published to the SharePoint Community blog. I hope you've enjoyed this Roadmap Pit Stop. Pump your brakes, time to relax, knowing that you are all caught up. If anything still leaves you scratching your head, open questions or concerns, please send us your thoughts and comments to the Intrazone@Microsoft.com. We are here to put our and your best change management foot forward. Thank you for taking this step with us into the cloud month after month. This is Mark Cashman saying, may the May have paved your way a path forward on the roadmap ahead.